He lived forever in darkness. She died too soon in silence. Yet one candle united them both. In the forgotten, mistruded hills of Eastern Europe, a castle stood like a skeletal finger pointing at the sky. Its dark windows held no life, save for a single, flickering candle that never seemed to burn out. This was the castle of endless night, and within its cold, stone heart lived Lord Cassian. He wasn't truly living, of course. He was a vampire, cursed with an eternity of solitude. Each night was a carbon copy of the last. He would wander the vast, echoing halls, a king in a kingdom of dust and memories. He hadn't seen his own reflection in centuries, and his heart had grown colder than the moonlight that spilled like liquid silver across the floors. He was the sole guardian of this silent tomb, his only companion, the ceaseless, lonely flame of that one small candle. But one night, something changed. The candle flame, which had burned steady for as long as he could remember, Dan said wildly. A cold draft, not of this world, swept through the chamber, and for the first time in an age, he felt a presence. He was no longer alone. A whisper, like the rustle of silk, drifted through the halls. It was a sound so faint he almost thought he'd imagined Italiano. Then, a figure began to take shape in the candelita form that was pale, radiant, and heartbreakingly translucent. She was a ghost, a spirit bound to the castle's stones. Her name was Ilara. For over 100 years, she had been trapped here, her soul tethered to a cruel, simple fate. She could not leave until the last candlelight in the castle faded. But the candle never died, because Cassian, in his lonely vigil, kept it burning. He had lit it a century ago, a small defiance against the suffocating darkness. He never knew that this simple act had bound another soul to his prison. When their eyes met his, a deep, sorrowful crimson, and hers, a blue as endless as the twilight sky, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. He was a creature trapped in an endless, agonizing life. She was a soul trapped in a silent, lonely death. They were perfect opposites, two sides of the same tragic coin, and in that moment of shared captivity, without a single word spoken, they understood each other completely. From that night forward, they developed a ritual. Each evening, as the last rays of sunlight vanished from the sky, they would meet in the grand, decaying ballroom. The air would be still, the only sound the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the candle's flame. They couldn't touch, not in the physical sense. His hand would pass right through hers, a cruel reminder of the barrier between their worlds. But their shadows could. And so they danced. As he led, she would follow, their silhouettes stretching and merging across the ballroom's ancient walls. His dark, imposing figure would intertwine with her ethereal, flowing one. Their love lived in the only way it could, as a fleeting work of art painted in light and shadow. The walls of the castle became their canvas, the candlelight their medium. They waltzed through the silent hours, two lonely souls finding solace in a phantom embrace. One night, as their shadows held each other close, Cassian made a vow, his voice a low rumble. "If I must burn this candle forever just to see you," he promised, "then I will tend to its flame until the stars themselves burn out." Ilara looked at him, her spectral form shimmering with a profound sadness. A gentle, bittersweet smile touched her lips. "But my love," she whispered, her voice like the wind through the eaves, "one day it must end. If that flame burns forever, then neither of us will ever be free." Her words hung in the air, a truth as undeniable as the coming dawn. Their beautiful, impossible love was also their shared prison. As centuries drifted by like fallen leaves, a subtle shift began. The night seemed to shorten, the dawn arriving earlier than ever before. Or perhaps it was just their perception, the weight of their eternal stalemate pressing down on them. The candle, their constant companion, began to melt faster. Its flame trembled, no longer a steady beacon but a flickering, desperate light, as if the world itself was growing impatient and demanding an end to their story. Cassian watched the wax pool and drip, each drop a second of their precious time together slipping away. The flame was dying, and with it, their nightly reunion. He looked at Ilara, who stood bathed in its weakening glow, and he finally understood what he had to do. To keep her with him was selfish. It was a beautiful agony, but it was still agony. True love, he realized, wasn't about holding on. It was about letting go. To free her soul, he had to extinguish the very light that allowed him to see her. He had to let the darkness win. With a heart heavier than all the stones of his castle, he moved towards the candle. He whispered her name. One last time to sound a prayer in the immense silence. Then he leaned in and blew. The darkness that followed was absolute, a void that swallowed them both whole. The ballroom was plunged into an abyss of black, but in that final, infinite moment, before the light was gone forever, he felt something impossible. A cool, gentle pressure against his hand. For the first time, and the last, their hands truly touched. A fleeting connection across the veil of life and death. And then, the new day's light began to creep through the windows. Years later, when brave villagers finally ventured into the crumbling, long-abandoned castle, they found it empty. The halls were thick with dust, the furniture draped in cobwebs. In the center of the old ballroom, they found the remains of a single candle, a mound of hardened wax, and a blackened wick, torn at toise. But on the dusty stone floor beneath it, something extraordinary was preserved. Two shadows, locked in a dance, were still holding each other, burned forever into the stone by that final, powerful burst of light. Some locals say that if you happen to pass by the ruins on a moonless night, you might just see it, a faint, impossible glow from a single window, the gentle light of a candle, burning once more. And if you look very closely, you might just see two shadows dancing together beneath it, forever. Some loves don't need bodies. Two exist only: light, darkness, and a promise. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the shadows. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more tales from the edge of reality. We'd love to have you in our community. Until next time, stay curious.